This is a Gato Consulting production. Strategy for action. Obtaining organizational alignment for action. The action plan must enable change towards the desired strategy. Better than any other tool, McKinsey's 7S framework has highlighted the need for organizational alignment, the need for consistency, feed, and reinforcement of the 7S's: strategy, style, skills, systems, structure, staff, and shared values. We'll also cover all these areas, making sure they are aligned and pointing in the direction of your long-term goals. Honeywell was a mess and losing money when David Cote became its CEO in 2002. Many doubted his ability to turn around this industrial and software giant composed of hundreds of units. David Cote addressed many areas and created specific programs, namely for operations and culture. And throughout time and persistence, turn around Honeywell he did. David Cote left in early 2017, having doubled Honeywell's margin from 14 to 31%, multiplied EBITDA 3.5 times to $8 billion, and raised market cap from $26 to $91 billion. We'll use this example throughout this video. The first step is to make sure the focal point of our strategy, competitive advantage, and the core competencies that compose it are enabled by ensuring the right skills and critical resources to build them. This should become our main strengths. Let's hear David Cote's take on it.
You've mobilized everybody, you've picked the right direction. Can you now get the entire organization moving step by step in that direction? And you make sure that whatever you decide to do truly has a logical implementation path, that you're not trying to be too broad, you're not under-resourced, but you've picked the right focal points, resourced them right, and then you have an independent way of finding out, is it working that way? That's why I spent 500-600 hours a year on the plane.
How do we start making sure there is a logical implementation path? By listing the actions we need to do to get there. For certain competencies, you may need to hire them or train your people on new things. Certain others might require the rights to use some form of intellectual property or rearrange the flow of your processes. And you may have to buy or build some of the tools you need. And these will become tasks and projects for your action plan. Things are now starting to take shape. Next, let's make sure your value chain is also aligned. Some activities may get larger, some may disappear, and as we look at activities within each functions at a smaller scale, we may have to redesign them as well. It's all about adding value. The right alignment of activities in the value chain is the secret sauce that really builds competitive advantage and exudes strategic fit. When all the pieces are in place, well-tuned, and the flow is fluid, you can even have your hardest competitor take a look at it, and you would not be able to replicate it. It becomes an emergent characteristic, like the mind is to the brain. Here's David Cote on the Honeywell operating system.
Well, if we go kind of back to the beginning, the 13, 14 years ago when I came to Honeywell, it was quite a mess. And I didn't want to do anything that was just so big that it would collapse of its own weight. And what we focused on in the factories was starting with what we call the Honeywell operating system, which was really just the Toyota production system Honeywellized. So we started off smaller, said we're just going to work on the factories and make sure that we get those right. And we had now about 300 factories, so wanted to make sure that we did do it right. That's largely happened, and we're pretty much at a bronze level throughout the company at this point. That being said, we need to evolve. So we evolved to silver, which was really more of the same, just better. Then we said, okay, now it's time to go to what we would call HOS Gold in our evolution. And the way we thought about gold was it was time to make this a total business enterprise.
Next step, how do we get the systems to support our goals? We'll look at IT and other technologies, particularly where weaknesses or opportunities have revealed them. Furthermore, we'll look at budgeting and management control systems and resource allocation systems, like CapEx approval, for example. Is it secure and nimble? For all of this, and as usual, we'll get actionable suggestions. We will then turn to the organizational chart and redesign it if need be, to focus people's attention on what needs to get done to accomplish the strategy. We will debate the level of centralization and decentralization, particularly as the company gets larger and spread out. Together, we will figure out the best structure. We will also implement coordination and collaboration mechanisms and clarify decision rights to make the organization more efficient. Culture, style, and staffing is often where the rubber meets the road. Well, we have a vision and goals to achieve, as well as a purpose and a set of values and attitudes that serve as a code of conduct. We have also done internal surveys to know where we are in terms of employee engagement, management style, and culture type. We know where you are and where you want to go. Very serious cultural issues can be a roadblock, and more specialized help might be needed. For everything else, Strategy for Action will draw from certain tools to take you to where you want to be. If you want change, things need to be done differently. And you need to push for change, so you need to involve your people. And you may need to change as well, while being sincere and true to yourselves. Awkward deviations can be sensed at the distance, sound phony, and be disenfranchising. We'll be persistent, and we'll keep it real. This needs to be done through people. We need to listen to them, use their best ideas, and drive their buy-in. The Strategy for Action framework has tools directed at raising engagement and bringing alignment down to every area and every single person, and keeping things real. Drawing from the Competing Values framework, sister organizational culture assessment instrument, and other tools, our process relies on getting inputs from your people, then starting at the center of the organization and the CEO, reflecting on it, and converting culture progressively and persistently back again into all levels of the organization in a way that is consistent with the texture of your human resources, respectful of their ideas, aligned with your strategy, and true to the values and attitudes you all want to see. Here's David Cody speaking about the One Honeywell culture.
Getting everybody on the same page is an important part of what you have to do when you've got 130,000 people in about 100 different countries. And it's why culture is so important. So just to give you a sense of what we were dealing with, go back 15 years ago, a huge culture war is going on. We were two companies, Honeywell and Allied Signal, who had been brought together in a merger and then acquired a third company called Pitway. They engaged in what were called the Red versus Blue Wars at the time, legacy Red Honeywell, legacy Blue Allied Signal, with Pitway abstaining from all and saying, we're not going to do anything anybody says. So I realized there was something I really needed to do. The first thing I focused on was getting my whole staff together and saying, this is our issue, and we need to develop these behaviors on how we are all going to act, including us as a staff. It took, I'd say, probably 2 or 3 weeks working through that. I had 10 originally, and we kind of did all the back and forth because I wanted everybody to buy in. I thought it was important. And I remember being struck by one of my staff members. We're at this meeting where we're kind of finalizing it. And he says, geez, why are we focused on this? We got all these strategic issues that we got to work on, and we're focused on this. And my comment was, well, I can make all the strategic decisions you want, but if nobody does them, it really doesn't matter. I could be really smart strategically, but if nobody does them, it's not going to matter. So I put a lot of attention into what those behaviors were, making sure I talked about them everywhere. I was doing it everywhere. And I did town halls around the world. Everywhere I would go, I'd do town halls with employees so that I could connect directly with them and say, here's what I'm looking for. We changed our appraisal system so that everybody was measured on those 12 behaviors. And I just tried to act that way myself, made sure my staff acted that way, and just talked about it relentlessly everywhere, reinforcing it everywhere I could. It really, when I said the leader's commitment to change has to be huge, I'm not kidding. It took us a long time to be able to get the culture that we have today. But when you talk about One Honeywell today, everybody knows exactly what you mean and how to go about it.
It takes commitment, and we need to make all these things happen. So, like we did to core competencies, we will add some additional tangible tasks and projects towards the action plan. And that's our strategy for action. We'll make sure that everyone and everything is on the same boat and paddling in the same direction, reinforcing strategic fit to put your long-term goals to action. Honeywell is a huge, global, diversified industrial conglomerate. But it went on an amazing path from a starting point when it was losing money, facing cultural wars, and most people didn't believe in the CEO. If they could do it, you can do it. But it takes time. Let's start now.
I'm really intrigued. It almost seems like you had a great breadth of operating principles and frameworks. Is this something you've thought about, or you just kind of accumulated these throughout the years?
Accumulated them throughout the years, and I mean there'd be various times that things would just really stick with me, like Michael Porter's books on competitive advantage. I remember reading those and thinking, wow, okay, this is big. This is important to think about.
Before we go, a reminder to go to the toolset page of our website. It has all the tools that support this video and will allow you to implement the framework. www.strategyforaction.com/toolset. This is a Gatto Consulting production. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. There are plenty of new videos coming up.